We're going to look at factoring trinomials in this section where we have a coefficient in front of our square term. It is not 1 and it is not a GCF. So here's our first trinomial. We would always check, can we get rid of the 2? Can we take out a GCF? But we can't. So we'll go ahead and work on it. It is a trinomial, so it comes from a FOIL problem. So a multiplication of 2 binomials. So we can set up our parentheses. We can also still set up our signs. So we look at the last sign. If it's plus, our signs are alike. They will be whatever the sign of the middle term is. So we'll put those in. And now we'll work on our choices. So we'll work on the first term. The extra piece here is we have to multiply to get 2. Well, 2 is not such a bad number because there is only one way. 2 times 1. You could do 1 times 2, but you don't have to do both on that side. Right? Then we go to the end piece, the 3. And we're going to multiply to get 3. So we could use 3 times 1. But now we also have to worry about the other order, the 1 times 3. Because whichever piece goes in this last position is going to multiply by 2. They will not both any longer just multiply by 1. That also ruins our shortcut of looking through the list to see how to get a 7. We can't do that anymore because they don't multiply by 1. So we actually just have to throw these in and try them. And by trying them, we're doing the check. We really only have to check outside and inside because we're very careful with the first terms and the last term. So it's the middle that we're worried about. So we're checking. Outside, we have 2x. Inside, we have 3x, and that gives us 5x. So this one does not work. So we have to go to the next one. So we have 2x, x, keep your signs the same. And we'll try 1 and 3. Check. Outside, we're multiplying. We get 6x. Inside plus 1x gives us 7x. That is the right choice. For our next trinomial, we would look and see could we get rid of the 2. And we actually can't. It is not a GCF, so we're going to have to deal with it. 2 sets of parentheses. We'll do our signs. We end in plus, so they're like signs. They are both plus. Right. Again, our first term starts with a 2. So we're going to use 2 times 1. And we'll split the x's. Right. On the other end, we have a 6. So our choices are 1 times 6, 2 times 3, 3 times 2, and 6 times 1. So we have 4 possibilities. And we just have to try them and see if we can get a 7. All right, so we plug in the first one, 1 and 6, our check. 12x on the outside plus 1x, 13x, and this one does not work. So we go on to the next choice. So 2x and x, that stays the same, and we try 2 and 3. We check. This is 6x plus 2x is 8x. And that does not work. We're trying to get a 7. So we go to the next choice. Keep our 2x and x like signs. And we try 3 and 2. You want to be real systematic here. Make your list and go right through your list. Check outside 4x. Plus inside 3x is 7x. This one is the correct choice. So you can see that these problems can be a lot of work. The technique is called trial and error. There is one little shortcut that you can use, and I could have ruled out this middle choice with it. Because there is not a GCF in the entire problem, there cannot be a GCF in one set of parentheses like there is here. Because if there's a GCF in here, the 2 would go to the outside. It can only be on the outside if it's in the entire problem. So working on that premise, then this one would not work because it gets the 2 in the same set of parentheses. It's a little shortcut, but it can help. So for this problem, we would try, see if we can take out the 3. We cannot. So we'll go ahead to our parentheses. And we'll do our signs, like signs, this time both minus. We're working on a 3. So we'll use 3 and 1. And split the x's. For 8, we have 1 times 8, 2 times 4, 4 times 2, and 8 times 1. And we just have to try them and check. So outside, minus 24x, minus 1x. This is not going to work. It's not giving us 14. So we'll go to the next one. 2 and 4. Outside, minus 12x. Inside, minus 2x gives us a minus 14x. And that's the right choice, so we can stop. So for our next problem, we would try to take out the 2, but we can't. So we'll go ahead to our parentheses. For our signs, we're going to have like signs, both minus. For 2, we can use 2 and 1 and split the x's. On this end, we can use 1 and 9. 2 doesn't work, 3 and 3, and 9 and 1. Those are our choices. So we just start 1 and 9. We check outside and inside. So minus 18x multiplying on the outside, minus 1x on the inside is minus 19x. That does not work. So we'll go on to the next choice. And try 3 and 3. Outside, minus 6x. Inside, minus 3x. And that gives minus 9x. That's the choice that works. For this next problem, I want to emphasize the shortcut I mentioned about the common factor a little bit more because it's going to happen in this problem. Now, the reason I know that it's going to come up in this problem, if you have a common factor between your first term and your last term, you are going to get some cases that have a common factor in a parentheses. So that is my clue when I look at it to watch out for those. Put my signs. This time I'm going to have different signs. Also, this time I have 2 choices on the left-hand side. I can try 6 and 1, or I can try 3 and 2. On the other side, I can try 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. You want to be real careful and go right up the list. 4 and 3, now they're all flipping over. 6 and 2, and 12 and 1. So that's a lot of choices. If I have to try them all, that's 12 things. So we hope to throw some of them out. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 6 and 1 in, split the x's. All right, and this 6 is the candidate. If I get a common factor in this parentheses, I can throw it out and not work it. Right? And when you look at your list, the first column, these are the numbers that go in with the first set of parentheses. So let's go ahead and just look at that a minute and see which ones we might throw out, right, that have a common factor with 6. Right? This one does. If we put 2 and 6 in, 2 and 6 have a common factor. So it's not going to work with this choice. If I put 3 and 4 in, 3 in with 6, they have a GCF of 3. It's not going to work. 4 and 3, if I put 4 in with the 6, they have a GCF of 2. It's not going to work. 6 and 2, 6 and 6, GCF of 6. And 12 and 1, GCF of 6. So none of those choices would work. I can rule them out. I would need to try the 1 and 12. This one's going to get really big. So I'm not even going to multiply that. But it's not going to subtract to give me 1. All right? So you can work it out. All right, so I'm going to go to the 3 and 2. And I will also get some things I can throw out in this one. And actually, I can probably get some in both sets of parentheses this time. Right, the 1 and 12. The 12 would go in the parentheses with the 2. Second column goes in second parentheses. They have a GCF of 2. It's not going to work. For the next one, the 6 would go in with the 2. They have a GCF. It's not going to work. The next one, both parentheses would be messed up. A 3 in with 3, 4 in with 2. GCF, not going to work. The next choice looks like we're going to need to try it. There's no GCF there, so we'll try it. So minus 9x on the outside plus an 8x. The inside gives a minus 1x. That's the right choice. So how many things did I really try? I only tried 2 so far. Right? And actually, the other 2 would have both been kicked out because of a common factor. So your shortcut can help if you spot it, and it's your first and last terms if they have a common factor. So another trinomial, no GCF in the whole thing. We do have a GCF in our first and last terms, so we're going to get that little shortcut we were talking about. Let's go ahead and do our parentheses and our signs. So we're going to do like signs, both minus. On the front end, we can try 6 and 1 or 3 and 2. On this side, we can try 1 and 2 or 2 and 1. So not so many choices this time. Now, after factoring a lot of problems, I think that you'll find that most of the time it will be these numbers that are closer together instead of the ones far apart, unless the middle term might be really big. Right? So I'm going to start at the bottom of this list with numbers closer together. That's just a textbook tip. So I'm going to start with 3 and 2. Right? And my first one I can throw out because the 2 would go in with the 2. They have a GCF in the same set of parentheses, so not going to work. I will try 2 and 1. My check, minus 3x minus 4x equals minus 7x. This one works. For our next trinomial, no GCF in the whole thing. We do have a common factor between the first and last term. So we're going to get some things to throw out. We'll go ahead and do our parentheses. And we'll do our signs. So we're going to do like signs, both minus. Right. For 12, we can do 12 times 1, 6 times 2, or 4 times 3. We don't have to do both orders on both sides, so I always just do both orders on the right-hand side. So for 6, we can do 1 times 6, 2 times 3, 3 times 2, or 6 times 1. So we have 12 possibilities here. Now, because these terms are both even, and I have a choice here that has an even digit in both places, I think it will work with nothing. So I'm going to choose the 6 and 2 first just to show you that I'm going to be able to throw it out. Right? The 1 and 6. 6 would go in with the 2. They have a GCF. So it's out. The next one, the 2 would go in with the 6, sorry. But they have a GCF. The third one, 2 would go in with 2. They have a GCF. And the fourth one, 6 would go in with 6. They have a GCF. So the even one in both spots, when these are both even in both spots, it's not going to work. We can toss it. Right. From the other two, I would go with this one with numbers closer together. So I'm going to try 4x and 3x. Right, and let's see what we can throw out. So the first one, 1 and 6. A 6 would go in with 3. That gives us a GCF, so that one won't work. The next one won't work with either set of parentheses. 2 in with 4, 3 in with 3. Our 3 and 2 looks like we'll have to try it because we're not getting any GCF. We're checking outside and inside. So minus 8x. On the outside, minus 9x. On the inside, so minus 17x. And that works. Right, so another trinomial. There's no GCF in the whole thing. we do have a common factor in the first and last terms, so we're going to get some things to throw away. We'll start with our parentheses and our signs. This says do like signs, both minus. We can try 6 and 1, or we can try 3 and 2. On the other end, we can try 1 and 10, 2 and 5, 5 and 2, or 10 and 1. Right? I would probably start with the 3 and 2, numbers closer together. And let's see which ones might get thrown out. The 1 and 10 gets thrown out because 10 would go in with the 2. And the 5 and 2 would get thrown out. 2 would go in with the 2. So we'll try 2 and 5. We're checking. Minus 15x, minus 4x, minus 19x, and nice. First try. For this next problem, one thing that you want to notice right away is it starts off with x cubed. You probably have a GCF in there. We do. We don't have a number, but we have an x, so we need to take that out first. Remember, GCF is one set of parentheses. Leaves us 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. And then we'll keep working on that trinomial. At the end, we need this x with our answer. So we'll work on this part. Two sets of parentheses. This time we want different signs when we end in a negative. We have 6 and 1, or 3 and 2. For here we have 1 times 10, 2 times 5, 5 times 2, or 10 times 1. I would probably start off with 3 and 2. And again, we could throw out 1 and 10. 10 would go in with the 2. And throw out 5 and 2 because 2 would go in with the 2. Let's try 2 and 5. And we have minus 15x plus 4x gives us a minus 11x. This one almost works, and we can fix it from here. We don't need to try anything else. The only thing wrong with it is it has the wrong sign. When that happens, you have the right number but the wrong sign. Switch the signs. Don't move your numbers. So my 1 that is plus should have been the minus. My 1 that's minus should have been the plus. I'll rewrite it. 3x minus 2 and 2x plus 5 just to double check. There's a 15x. Minus 4x is 11x. And that works. Don't forget to include that x that you took out originally with your answer. For this problem, first of all, it starts with a negative. So we are going to take that negative out as a GCF. But also notice they are all even. So there is at least a common factor of 2 in there. 2 is actually all we can do because there's no 4 in this one. So we're going to take out a negative 2 GCF to start the problem. Right? That will leave us 6x squared minus 11x minus 2. Let's double check right there. Distribute back. That would be negative 12x squared, positive 22x, positive 4. So we're good so far. This negative 2 we'll ignore, but we need it with our final answer. So now we're working on this trinomial. We're going to have different signs. We have 6, so we can try 6 and 1 or 3 and 2. For here we have 1 and 2 or 2 and 1. So I'm going to start with 3 and 2. And it will not work with 1 and 2 because the 2 would go in with the 2. So I can toss that one. I'll try 2 and 1. I'm getting minus 3x plus 4x. And this doesn't work. It gives me x. All right, so I'll go to the other choice. 6x, x, different signs. And I'll try the 1 and 2. A minus 12x plus 1x gives a minus 11x, and my sign is also correct. That's the right choice. Don't forget this negative 2 that is part of your answer.